So welcome to the world's greatest Kiwanis club. So happy that you guys can join us live and that folks can catch up through the recording and we can stay connected even when we're not physically in the same space. Duke, would you like to open us up with an invocation today?
I'd be happy to. Let's bow our heads. Almighty God, you are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting. May we approach our tasks with wisdom. May we approach our members with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Please, Lord, bless our Kiwanis leadership, membership, and everyone serving our Lord to make this world a better place. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
In Moses' name too.
Welcome to all of the guests that we have today. If you want to use the chat to introduce yourself, please feel free. Members, guests, everyone here. Thank you to our members who are celebrating anniversaries this week. Past president and 1999 Career Award recipient Mac McWhorter is marking 49 years as a Kiwanian this week. 2018 Civic Award recipient and honorary member Bob Reynolds is marking 45 years, and past president Jean Ann Kirby at 11. Really grateful for all of their service and participation and longevity with us. The past presidents convened last week to make their selections for the annual Career and Civic Awards, which will have been presented since 1962. I love hearing the legacies that we have. In addition to recognizing individuals at the Past President's Day on September 28th at the Columbia Club, we encourage all previous recipients of the Career, Civic, and Kiwanian of the Year awards to attend this lunch and celebrate our accomplishments as community leaders. As you know, we've been highlighting $2,500 grant recipients throughout the year. Next year, we will be kicking this up to $5,000 grants, thanks to the advocacy of our members and the support of our foundation. These $5,000 grants will be awarded to create and grow initiatives that directly impact youth in Marion County. I ask members to please share this opportunity with community organizations that they may be connected with. The application is open through October 6th. It's on our website at indykiwanis.org/grants. Please take a look. We've tried to take down as many barriers as possible for applications, make it easy, streamlined, super quick. So hopefully we can get a lot of fantastic applicants and be able to fund some really incredible programs as we have in past years. Mary, would you like to say anything about the Abe Lincoln program and committee?
We are having a meeting this Saturday, a Zoom meeting for Abe Lincoln. Wendy's on. She might be able to give some more information. This is the first one for since we've got a new school year, but looking forward to working with everybody to get the fantastic scholarship program up and running for this school year.
This is Wendy, and I think Mary did an awesome job. I have nothing else to add. The link will be coming out today.
Perfect.
We encourage other members to work with us this year.
Wonderful. Thank you for convening that and getting, the ball rolling so quickly and early. Kelly, thank you for your support on all of that. And thank you to all of our members that are lending a hand in a variety of ways. I don't think Roger is on, so I'll just give you a quick update on the East scholarships. Congratulations to the recipients of the Lawrence E. and Maisel D. East scholarships awarded annually since 1997 to students at Butler and the University of Indianapolis who demonstrate academic excellence, leadership, citizenship, and financial need. The Kiwanis Foundation of Indianapolis is able to award these because of the generous gifts of the estate of Jerry East, a longtime member with 40 years of perfect attendance. I'm just going to let that sit in for a minute. 40 years of perfect attendance. He was also the first recipient of the Kiwanian of the Year Award in 1986. We just awarded 2 $5,000 scholarships to Lily Thompson from Butler, who plans to be a speech language pathologist, and Donna Williams from the University of Indianapolis, who plans to become a social worker. Please come join Roger and the whole lunch bunch at IOZO's on the third Monday of each month. The next one's September 18th and October 16th. Mandy Bender and Kara Covert-Prey from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum will join us at the Columbia Club on September 7th. Mark calendars, plan to be there. College Mentors for Kids will also be joining us that day to provide a recap of their $2,500 grant for their Little Buddies program. On October 5th, for the first meeting of our new club year under Mary's gaveling, we will be at the Columbia Club again for the Indiana District Governor, Doug McMillan. He'll install our new officers. As I mentioned, our incoming president, Mary Bulk, President-elect Eric Rowland, and Director Steve Farrow and Art Kudroff. Mel Sexton from the Riley Children's Foundation will also share more information about their upcoming Kiwanis giving opportunities for the Outreach Indiana campaign and the alarming rates of youth suicide, depression, and mental health conditions devastating our state's children and teens. Instead of a meeting on October 12th, there will be a Salvation Army Coats for Kids service opportunity, and we're hoping to pair up with Kiwanians, Key Club members, Circle K, and Action Club members for that experience. It's a unique opportunity to both collaborate and give back. So I hope to see a lot of you guys there. Huge thank you to Graham Honecker. We'll have a Zoom on October 19th with author Diana Enrique. Just mispronounced her name, I apologize, to talk about her new book, Taming the Street, The Old Guard, the New Deal, and FDR's Fight to Regulate American Capitalism. She visited us earlier this year to talk about Bernie Madoff, and in the conversation leading up to the meeting, she was sharing a little bit about this book, and our members seemed very excited and asked her if she would return and talk about her FDR book. And then we'll kick off 2024. I can't believe we're already talking about 2024. We'll kick off the year on January 11th with former Davidson coach Bill McKillop, looking at the 2024 NIT basketball tournament, which Butler and Hinkle Fieldhouse will play host to. I'd now like to turn over the mic to Mary Bulk to introduce one of our grant recipients, Exploradoor.
Really?
Would you like to?
Can you do it?
I'm happy to.
I have my notes.
No worries. I just know you guys get tired of hearing me talk. You don't have to hear me talk for long. I'll turn things over to Diane in just a second, but I would like to welcome Diane Cruz-Burke, who will provide an update on the $2,500 Kiwanis Foundation grant for Exploradoor. Tell us a little about your program and how you're making a difference in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Delighted to be here with you today. I really appreciated even the few minutes I had to just listen in to a little piece of your ordinary business. It's nice to see people convening to do good, positive things and talking positively about community. That's so critically important and really a core of what we're trying to do for kids via Exploradoor, which is expand their awareness of the community that is around them and standing ready to help them be successful, participate positively in a community, in their school, and into their future. So we all know, probably because we all sit further along in our journeys, having experienced some success, hopefully, definitely some failures, but everything that we do in life involves network and relationship. And part of what we're trying to do here is both leverage relationships in the community, but also teach the importance of relationship to young people early on when it can hopefully have the greatest impact. So Exploradoor has been around for just about 3 years. So we're a very small baby organization. We appreciate the Kiwanis investment in us in what was then last year a pilot program. And I'm glad to report we will be and are in the process of expanding to a larger instance of the program, thanks in large part to your commitment to helping us fund student stipends. I think you have, do you have Stephen Robinson waiting to be admitted, or is that showing up on my screen? Okay. And stipends that we could pay these students. So Exploradoor, for those of you that are just hearing about us for the first time, we exist to enable connections between youth serving organizations and programs with youth, primarily youth from marginalized communities. So what we noticed about the ecosystem of youth development in Indianapolis, central Indiana, frankly, it's probably a nationwide problem and or opportunity, is that there's a lot of wonderful programs out there, some of which you are actively engaged in funding, but all programs struggle and have the perennial need to continue to connect with the new crop of kids, families, community, even when they're evolving and these communities are evolving, their needs are evolving. And so it's really difficult for the program providers to keep up with and stay engaged with their community that's constantly changing. And likewise, the community has a really hard time keeping up with or even knowing, because these are communities that aren't connected in these ways, knowing that these programs exist. So that nexus is where we aim to make a difference. We aim to unify the effort on the part of program providers in reaching students and families by aggregating their programs and their information in one easy to use and access free resource called exploradoor.com. And then we then do a lot of outreach to be in the communities, in the schools, in the nonprofits, talking to kids, social media, whatever, to draw them to this center hub of information. And then at the same time, inspire them to take advantage of what is there, talk about why it matters, show them other students who've taken advantage of those things and how it's made a difference. And so through focusing on the connectivity part, we hope to increase the number of minority low-income students that are actually taking advantage of the programs and opportunities that are out there. So the novel thing that we did, so that in and of itself is something that's novel because it doesn't exist. There's no one organization that felt the need to do that for the whole. And so Exploradoor comes in to sort of create and do work where no one stakeholder really had the money, the interest, the need, let's say, to try and solve that problem. So that's one thing that we're doing. But the other interesting and really exciting thing that you participated in helping to fund was the use of the students themselves as ambassadors for Exploradoor, this platform and this outreach engagement, where we engage students to be interns for Exploradoor. We pay them a stipend each semester. We train them, we coach them throughout the week and the month, and gave them goals and metrics. And that experience itself became a work-based learning experience. And the goal was to use that to influence participation by more youth. You have another person waiting, Carl Orbinson, to join. So we set out with a goal of having 14 interns across 7 schools. We ended up with 12 interns across 7 schools. These schools were 7 Marion County high schools, some, I'm sure all of which you might recognize: Cathedral, Crystal House, Crispus Attucks, Phelan, Purdue Polytechnic High School, Lawrence North, and Warren Central. And what we did is we trained this cohort of young people and worked with them over 2 semesters to share information about Exploradoor with their peers and try and track metrics. There's a lot of learnings that came from that, including this is a lot harder than what it sounds. Engaging kids to work in their schools is also a sort of an additional challenge. But the students, one of the parts that I probably underappreciated was the level of growth that would occur just amongst our interns and the level of excitement. So that in and of itself was a huge success. We ended up, as I mentioned, 12 interns. 6 of those were African American, 3 were Hispanic, 1 was Asian, and 2 were white. So we had a really nice, diverse mix of kids that had this really unique work-based learning experience, and they very much encouraged us to move forward with the program, and they're huge advocates for us. In fact, one of our ambassadors has been invited to and has accepted to join our board, and now is a board member for Exploradoor. So we're very excited about that. So this year, in 2023-24, so I call year, I think school year, we will be in 17 schools with 30 to 32 interns. So the program is expanding dramatically. And what's been interesting is we've had pulls both from the school part, but also from students who want to participate. We use Exploradoor to advertise, if you will, the internship and sort of just see how our own product works for our opportunity. And it's been great. It's been a wonderful experience all across the board. So we thank you for your investment. It has been used to help pay for some of the stipends that have been paid to those 12 students last school year. And we are continuing on, and we have received some additional funding, significant funding, to help us hire a program manager and a coordinator to focus specifically on, which is necessary, but to focus specifically on the ambassador program and making sure we're building up the processes and the systems to properly support a large cohort of kids over the course of an entire year. And hopefully the goal is not to grow it for the next 2 years, but to sort of stay static with these schools, same kind of number, close to number of students, and see if we can really get it powered, if you will, to really deliver the end results, which is more kids applying for programs that are existing and making it easier for everybody in the ecosystem to serve the needs of that community. So sorry, I probably went over 5 minutes.
No, it was worth every second of that. Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I'm glad you talked about the needs of organizations continually evolving. That's something we're experiencing, we're noticing, and it's great to have that affirmation from your seat that we always need to be mindful of the dynamics that we're working in. Change is inevitable, right? And you're a perfect example of what we wanted to do as we evolved our grant program a few years ago, really trying to fund pilot programs, give you a little bit of runway to go test, try. And it's so heartwarming to hear that this has really taken off. It's growing leaps and bounds. It's having a direct impact on the kids. So I want to continue to follow you and just see how much amazing stuff is happening with the students that you're working with. Just on a side note, our grant program is set up to fund for up to 3 years. You can continue to apply for 3 years. So if you haven't already for this year, please consider doing so. Like you heard, we're doubling the amount of each individual grant. So hopefully we can have a slightly larger
awesome.
drop in the bucket.
I look forward to doing that again. I really appreciate your support, your financial support. But yes, you can support us as well by just following us on LinkedIn. We have an Exploradoor account on LinkedIn, and we post there frequently about the programs that are, we're promoting to our kids and our families, and there's all those kinds of ways. And we are looking for volunteers. If there's anyone in your organization that would like to, become what we call a champion, in support of some of our ambassadors working in their schools, right? So this is like inspiring them, coaching them, help, just having a conversation with them once a month or whatever frequency makes the most sense to just keep them encouraged in overcoming whatever barriers they might be facing along the way.
Oh,
Okay.
we'll get our Zoom etiquette back under control. Thank you so much. This has been such a treat.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and you are welcome to stay on or go attend to other things that
Don't
you
mind.
need
I
to do.
have other business to attend to.
You are busy. Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I'd now like to turn things over to Duke to introduce our featured guests for the day.
Thank you, Trina. It's an honor for me as a board member of the Kiwanis Club of Indianapolis and a member of St. George Orthodox Christian Church Parish Council to introduce two wonderful presenters today who'll talk about a variety of topics related to Arabs in Indianapolis. I happen to be one of those Arabs. Let me introduce these fine gentlemen to you. They are Dr. Edward Curtis, author, producer, and professor of religious studies, IU Indianapolis, the very Reverend Anthony Yaji, pastor, St. George Orthodox Christian Church in Fishers. Dr. Curtis is a scholar of Black, Muslim, and Arab American history and life. He's written 14 books on a variety of stimulating historical topics. He engages national and local audiences in his public scholarship. He's contributed articles and interviews to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, National Public Radio, and Associated Press. He's won 2 Emmys for his work as executive producer and writer of Arab Indianapolis, A Hidden History. He's also consulted and appeared as on-air talent in The Great Muslim American Road Trip. He holds a doctorate in religious studies from the University of South Africa, a master's in history from Washington University, and a BA in religion from Kenyon College. He grew up in Southern Illinois. He came to Indianapolis in 2005 from the University of North Carolina to work at IUPUI. We are blessed to have this scholar in our community. Very Reverend Father Anthony has been a pastor of St. George Orthodox Christian Church since 2020. He previously served as pastor of St. George Orthodox Church in Terre Haute from 1988 to 2006. He was camp director at the Antiochian Village Camp from 2006 to 2020. He graduated from the University of Maryland, was a special education teacher in Montgomery County, Maryland. He worked in the business world before he became ordained as diaconate at St. Vladimir's Seminary in July 1987 and January 1988. Father Anthony's featured on many presentations. If you're lucky, you'll find him, for example, on YouTube, whether he's being interviewed, providing a sermon, or doing a webinar. Some of his topics have included sermon, armor of God, how to be a light in times of darkness, keeping your camp Christ-centered, and freedom from fear of the future for your child with disabilities. Our church will be celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2026. And I can think of no one better suited to lead us through and to this historical occasion. He's an inspiring servant leader. So Dr. Edward and Father Anthony, the floor is yours.
Father Anthony, am I first or are you first? Oh, me. All right, fantastic. Greetings, everyone. Nice to meet you all virtually. And I'll just take a couple of minutes to tell you about the Arab Indianapolis Community History Project. And I'm going to share my screen in a moment to show you the products that have emerged. But this briefly, this project emerged in the winter and the spring of 2020, and it started out as a blog. And it took off, and I can't explain exactly why and how it became so big, but it did. And we have now involved 10 student researchers at what will become IU Indy officially next fall. 10 student researchers, 24 local Arab Americans, let's see, 75 individual donors and tens of thousands of people who have seen our blog, and every PBS affiliate in the state of Indiana. Let me show you, let me share my screen with you and just briefly go through. Let's see here. And where is it? I'm so out of practice because there we go. All right. So one of our products is the Arab Indianapolis book from Belt Publishing, which you can access through the website. And it's really, I describe it as our community's a scrapbook, because it has so many images, and it's over 80 images from our community, from its history starting in the 1890s until today. And then, of course, it's the film that Duke told you about, which is available on PBS. It streams nationally on PBS. It's been broadcast on all the PBS affiliates in Indiana. And it is the winner of 3 Emmys, including for Best Historical Documentary. I've always worked very closely with teachers in my whole career, K through 12 educators. And so it was very important for me to make sure that these products are used as much as possible by teachers, and that they enhance teachers' work. So I've done for 2 things that I've done. One is I conducted a K through 12 workshop for local educators, and I paid them to design lesson plans that they could use in their own classroom based on the resources available through Arab Indianapolis. And also nationally, on a national platform, I designed lesson plans for PBS Learning Media, which you can access through the website as well. Our blog remains free, and you might be interested to know, I think the single most popular blog post on the blog is about Jeff George, who played at Warren Central and was the first pick of the NFL draft overall the year he came out, and comes from an Orthodox Christian background. And so anyway, but you'll find all kinds of information there. The film has also been part of dialogues sponsored by Indiana Humanities across the state, more intimate conversations about particular. I find a heritage trail, which you could take either virtually or in real life. Warren Central's on there, but it starts where we started. It starts at downtown, and it ends up on 86th Street at Bill Nasser's Center at St. Vincent Hospital. And then finally, the one piece of the puzzle that will be a reality in about 1 month's time, it will be the first monument to Arab Americans in the city of Indianapolis, not in Indiana, but in Indianapolis, at Lucas Oil Stadium, which sits on where we all began, the Syrian Quarter or the Syrian Colony on Willard Street, which is probably somewhere along the 40th yard line. I don't know exactly. And there'll be a official state of Indiana marker noting our community's origins there. So that's the whole project in a nutshell.
Are you all done, Edward?
I am.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to do a little bit more. Well,
No.
Thank you. Thank you for having us today to share a little bit more with you about the Arab community of Indianapolis. part of the heart of that community is St. George Orthodox Church, which, as Duke mentioned, will be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2026. Just a brief history of our parish. When it was first established, we were on North Sherman Drive around 26th, 28th Street, around there, and then moved up to 4020 North Sherman Drive, where we were for many years, until we just outgrew the facilities we had. And so now we reside at East 116th Street in Fishers, and we moved up here officially. We opened the doors in 2013. Our parish community is very active in the greater community, and although our parish was initially founded as a parish of the Antiochian Orthodox Christian Archdiocese, which at the time was called the Syrian Orthodox Church, the majority of our parishioners were of Middle Eastern ancestry, and over time that has changed a great deal, just because of the large number of people who've come to the faith who are not of any Arab ethnic background. But we still share that kind of shared heritage and culture, which we celebrate every year with our annual St. George Middle Eastern Festival. And that's coming up actually September 15th to the 17th. If you want to get a taste, and literally a taste, of our culture, you can come to the church here. We have all kinds of food and pastries. There will be live entertainment and dancing, also as a way to share our culture and heritage of the Middle East. And then also sharing our heritage of our faith. There'll be our church tours as well. And what you see in my background here is the inside of our church, which is something to behold simply in the feat of not only construction, but the iconography and the artwork that is in there, and the process it took to do that over many, many, many months. But we invite all of you to come and join us for our festival, because it is a good way to kind of experience a taste of our culture. And I believe Edward's going to be there and have a booth set up with Arab Indianapolis as well. It'll give an opportunity to see some of the products that have been generated from his good efforts as well. But we're proud to be part of the community. We continue to try to find ways to serve the community. And we're proud of our parishioners who are involved, like Duke, being part of the Kiwanis and everything. So thank you for the time. Be happy to answer any questions for you that you might have.
Father or Dr. Curtis, approximately how many Arabs are there, for example, in the United States or Indiana?
There are 2 to 4 million Arab and Arab descended people in the coming from the 22 plus countries across North Africa and the Middle East, or with their roots to those. By far the largest single, they're not a majority, but the largest single group are Lebanese, which reflects the fact that most of the Syrian, Lebanon didn't start until 1930s. So my people came in the 1890s with Ottoman Syria. They were all Ottoman subjects. So that long running immigration is why there's so many more Lebanese than Moroccans or Algerians or Egyptians. In the state of Indiana, there are at least 30,000 people of Arab descent. In Marion County, perhaps, I have it on the website, it's something like, it's the largest single, maybe 8,000. In Hamilton County, 5,000, something like that. But we are located throughout the state, including in rural. I grew up in rural Southern Illinois. So people settled everywhere, basically.
Well, there's a festival this weekend called the Greek Festival with Holy Trinity Church in Carmel, Indiana. And obviously our festival is September 15th to the 17th in Fishers, Indiana. When people talk about churches, they get totally confused. And they always think every church is a Greek Orthodox church. Can we just briefly talk about the differences and what is Eastern Orthodox and what is the different ethnic groups underneath?
Sure. So there was one Christian church for the first 1,000 years of Christianity, but it was within that there were 5 main primary churches that were established in Jerusalem, Antioch, Rome, Constantinople, and Alexandria. And from that is where you developed, like the Greek Orthodox Church under Constantinople, the Antiochian Orthodox Church, or the former Syrian Orthodox Church under Antioch, and so forth. And so it's the same faith, but we are in different administrative structures in that sense. And as I mentioned before, our community, while it started out as predominantly Syrians and Lebanese, and then Palestinians and Jordanians, we now have a number of people who have no connection ethnically to the Middle East, but now faith-based to the Middle East.
And I'll add the other groups that compose the Arabic-speaking people of America. So there are as many Muslims now, Arab Muslims, as there are Arab Christians in the United States. And that includes from places like Lebanon, because so many people have immigrated, Muslims have immigrated from Lebanon, from Iraq, from other places. And then there are other minorities among Arabic-speaking people. They include, who are not Christian, they include the Druze, spelled D-R-U-Z-E, which is a breakaway group from the Shia Muslims who believe in ideas like reincarnation, for example. But many famous Druze Americans, the most famous is perhaps Casey Kasem, who used to count down the hits, the weekly top 40. So Casey Kasem was a Druze American. And then there are now an increasing number of Jews, J-E-W, who trace their roots to Iraq or to Morocco or to Algeria or to Syria, who are rediscovering their Arab heritage. In part, it was difficult to do so because of the Palestinian conflict. But I'm just reading a fascinating biography for right now of someone who has done this. And so there are also, you remember that after the Holocaust, that because the Holocaust killed half of European Jewry, the majority of Jews were actually Arabic-speaking people from North Africa and the Middle East. And so, that's a part that was because of politics was covered up, but so many of these heritage of the Arab is not a religious identity. It's a cultural one. It's connected to our shared language and other kinds of food and all kinds of other things. There are differences among us, but there are also shared things, from dance to dress, you name it.
Do you think the stereotypes of the 40s and 50s are prevalent today of Arabs?
Without a doubt. Our anti-Arab prejudices began in the colonial era, and they continue to fuel our national conversations. Here in Indiana, my documentary starts with the fact that that Governor Mike Pence attempted to ban us from immigrating from Syria to the state of Indiana, even though the governor in office before him was a Syrian immigrant. Mitch Daniels' grandfather is Syrian and a Syrian immigrant. And that's covered in our blog post as well. That was very hurtful to many of us because he said that we came from a place of terrorism. And of course, those stereotypes off as being terrorists, of hating women, of oppressing women, of being violent, of being fanatical. Those have been part of American identity since the colonial era, and they continue to be very strongly part of the American culture today, as we see not only in hate crimes but in opinion polls, which rate us as some of the least trustworthy Americans.
Could I ask a question? My name is Greg Silver, and I want you to know that we, in our synagogue, Rabbi Sasso and et cetera, we work very closely with your groups, and your friendship is very important to us. And you've been in our synagogue, and we've been in your synagogue and your church. And I want you to know that we have many members who are of Arab, ancestry, and we consider ourselves just a little bit, and probably we have the same DNA, and we have to stand together to advocate those things that you just talked about, because we are victims of it, as are the Black community and the gay community and your community, and that's the kind of thing that we have to stand up to in America. And I want to congratulate you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Curtis, you also mentioned Casey Kasem. I was blessed to have a relationship with him through Dr. Bill Nasser. And one thing that I really appreciated with Casey at the time, and I think a lot of people on this call are the vintage who would remember Casey Kasem, besides the 70s and the recordings and all this top 40 things, he really promoted, in my opinion, Arab Americans. And he would promote them, and he would broadcast.
I just said something about my big case
to the universe, different
sure.
people, like Doug Flutie, quarterback. You mentioned Jeff George, or like Vince Vaughn, the actor, and like Mitch Daniels, the governor. And I mean, the cardiologist, William DeBakey, first open heart surgeon. So we have a lot of pride nationally in Arabs. I was just curious, has anyone taken the mantle from, because obviously Casey Kasem's passed on now, but have you seen anybody else take the mantle nationally to promote American Arabs?
The religious conflicts in our communities have damaged our ability to unite as Arabs and celebrate Arab culture together. The Lebanese Civil War really began in 1975, really led to a very deep split between Christians and Muslims. And the other thing that was happening was Americanization. And in the United States, traditionally speaking, one of the primary ways that we organize ourselves is not just in voluntary associations like the Kiwanis or the Lions Club, but especially in religious congregations. It's religious congregations where we oftentimes meet our partners, we socialize, we do business with people, they really are. And so because congregations tend to support homogenization, it's a sociological concept called homophily. What's happened is the gap has widened between Christians and Muslims of Arab descent, which has really damaged our institutions like the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. One of the things I hope to do with Arab Indianapolis was to try to do my best to get people to remember how for their parents and their grandparents, this was not a problem. This was not, the Muslim-Christian divide was not a big deal in the Midwest. And Muslims and Christians came together to work with each other all the time. So things got worse on that front, especially after 9/11. And when much of the prejudice, the focus of the prejudice shifted to anti-Muslim versus anti-Arab. And then Muslims, of course, then looked for allies, right? And that we built many organizations, including by non-Muslims, to oppose Islamophobia. And that became then the focus oftentimes of our work. And so
Trina, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's back.
And oh, sorry, my connection was unstable. Thank you.
That's okay. You froze for just a second, but it's probably your most brilliant point.
Okay, no, not at all. But I'm hopeful that, I'm going to keep whatever we can do. I'm going to keep, trying to bring back the ethnic focus, because I think it's a heritage worth preserving and worth passing on.
Do you see over time more we say Arab Indianapolis, but do you see Arab Philadelphia or Arab New York or Arab Los Angeles or a more of a national, starting here certainly, but the same concept?
Well, there's already Arab Detroit, and there are a ton of Arab Detroit. The Arab American National Museum is in Detroit. That's the largest single concentration of Arabic speaking people. And if you haven't had a chance to go to Dearborn, it's not far away. Take the day, go to Shatila Bakery, get some of the most delicious baklava you've ever eaten in your life. Go to the Arab American National Museum. Half of the street signs are in Arabic. You'll really enjoy it. And it's worth the trip. So Arab Detroit is special. But yes, I hope a group of Arab Americans just approached me from Texas. And they've asked me, can I make a film about Arab Texas? So I hope that this will continue.
And one of the things too is, in addition to the museum in Detroit, the Antiochian Village, where I used to be the camp director, has a conference center, but also has a heritage museum to do exactly that, and a library to preserve the heritage of Middle Eastern heritage, as well as the Orthodox faith. So if you're ever in Western Pennsylvania, that would be a nice place to go and see the exhibit there and the library.
And one of the things you'll see there is Arab heritage was so central to Antiochian identity 50 years ago in a way that it isn't today. So, like, one of the leading advocates of the Palestinian freedom cause, again, he was an anti-Zionist, was the head of the Antiochian church. But you won't, and if you go to the archives, you'll discover that there. But you won't. But today, the Antiochian church is not, because it represents many ethnicities and many different groups. It doesn't have the same politics or the same kind of Arab ethnic ethnocentrism that it once had. But it's in their archives. If you just go in their archives, it's like, oh my goodness, you should have seen the fiery sermons that were given at St. George Church in the 1930s and 40s for Palestine.
I really enjoyed this presentation. I went to high school in suburban Detroit and had quite a few friends and classmates with Arabic descent. And, I've been really lucky to attend some really good schools, but the best education I've ever had was going to that high school. Chaldeans, I'm sure you're familiar with that term. I went to school with a lot of Chaldeans, African Americans, Jewish people, and that was the best education a 14 to 18-year-old kid could ever get. And I may offend somebody here, and I'm sorry if I do, or maybe I'm not. Mike Pence's comments disgust me. That to me is not what we should be about, and you're depriving people the opportunity I had to learn from one another. And hopefully we have better leadership in the future who encourages learning from others rather than discouraging. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
So we have time for one more question if there is one.
I have a question. Kind of a change of topic, but I'm just curious about the languages that are spoken by Arab Americans. I'm sure that Arabic is the main language. Are there dialects, or is it Eastern or Western Arabic?
I'm not as well versed on it, but yes, almost every village has its own slight dialect of sorts. For example, in the church, we use more of a classical Arabic when we use it, but our parish is 99% English speaking. But within Arabs and Middle Eastern people of Middle Eastern culture, you're going to find lots of different dialects, but there's still a commonality. And it was the language that helped bring us all together in the first place, as well as other things, as Dr. Curtis had referred to. Edward, do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. So in order to be fluent in Arabic, you have to speak two languages. One is written Arabic, the kind of Arabic that is used in speeches and that you read in newspapers and books. And then the other Arabic you have to learn is your colloquial. These colloquial are basically divided into two families, Eastern and Western. That is Egyptian over to Iraq and Libyan over to Morocco. the educated Arabs can understand each other, but someone who was not very literate would have difficulty communicating. If they were a Moroccan, would have trouble understanding sometimes an Iraqi dialect, but they all understand Egyptian because Egypt makes so many films in their dialect and everybody consumes them. So that's a 2-minute explanation of the way Arabic works.
Thanks. I had gotten interested in the language. The past Key Club International president last year, her family immigrated from Egypt when she was a child, so she spoke Egyptian Arabic, and it was a cool language to learn about.
Trina,
Yes.
I want to make one comment. I want to thank Greg
please.
Silver. I did make a mistake in my opening prayer to have it narrow because we have different people of different faiths here. And I'm a Christian, and you asked me to say a prayer, and it was top of mind. So I apologize to people in the
Oh,
audience.
Don't worry about that. We all came from the same place. That's all I have to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah,
Not
with that-
necessary.
Yeah, with that said, I appreciate that we have the space to ask for what we need and what sits well and how we can evolve together. I feel like our society doesn't always enable that. So Greg, thank you for feeling comfortable, and Duke, thank you for sharing your faith tradition with us. All of that said, I am incredibly grateful that Dr. Curtis and Father Yazzie were able to take time today and give us a glimpse into their world that I don't feel like we always get to see, we always get to ask questions about. Thank you for that, Duke. It's also in the chat. I also love that you, Dr. Curtis, put the spelling of Graham's word in there. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Very grateful that we could witness part of our world that we don't always encounter. In honor of your visit with us today, our club is making a donation to Report for America. It's a national service program that connects early career journalists with newsrooms across the country to fill undercovered beats. Thanks to Report for America, the Indy Star K-12 education reporter Caroline Beck is able to dive into issues facing families, children, and educators in Marion County's township school districts. So again, very grateful that you guys have been able to join us today. And
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, very much appreciate our members that were able to join us live and those that will take this in through the recording. Our next meeting is September 7th at the Columbia Club. So we'll be back live and in person. And before I adjourn, I want to turn things over to Graham for one quick final announcement. And then Graham, if you want to adjourn us, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. Really pleased to make this announcement. I think many of you may be aware, but you may not be. I am really excited this Sunday to be attending the Hoosier Jewish Legends reception, of which our own Greg Silver is being inducted. I've got my invitation here. I'm actually going to visit my mom this weekend and leaving early to come back for this. Most deserving of this. Another good friend of mine, John Abrams, is being inducted, but this is a really big deal. And I think all of you get it. Greg was Kiwanis of the year last year, and a really great honor, and very pleased.
Thank you,
Honored
Graham.
to call him a friend, and we'll be honored to be there on Sunday.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we will adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Kelly? Kelly, can you hear me? I don't know what's wrong with my computer.
Are you there?
Yeah. I finally got on.
Yeah, there's something weird. Did you have to reinstall Zoom or?
Well, I did, and I still couldn't sign in because my old email address, which was my username, is not valid. So they said they'll send us a verification code to that address, so I can't get it. So I disinstalled it, reinstalled it, but I gotta get a hold of them somehow and cancel that account or something.
So if ever you, and I know Carol had the same problem, if ever you have problems, go to the website. At the very top of the website, I have the link for the meeting as a backup if something goes awry. And you can always go there and just click on it and it should take you in.
Like I said, I had to sign in,
Yeah, so it was making you log in. Yeah, something with.
but I don't have that. Yeah, it sends just the verification code, which I didn't get.
Yeah.
So thanks for helping me let me do the phone. I didn't even think about that.
No, I'm always gonna have challenges, so I'm like doing multiple things at once, and we got Carolyn too. Yay.
All right. Okay, well, I'm gonna mess with it before the next meeting.
If you guys haven't watched the PBS special, please do so. It's so good. It's just such a good program. And I'm gonna put all that in the newsletter.
Good, good. All right, cool.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Carol.
Bye-bye.